World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Thursday, October 20th, 2022. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And hey, Chet, since the last time we were together, the Phillies roll the Braves. Then they go out to San Diego. They come back with a split and now have 3 in Philly. The Eagles beat the Cowboys to stay undefeated and are in a bye week. The Steelers are up next. The Flyers opened up with a 3-1 record, going down to Tampa, winning that game and turning around and losing last night by 1 to Florida. That's always tough. Sixers lost their opener to the Celtics as well. We have plenty to talk about again tonight.
Yeah, and had time permitted, we were actually going to squeeze in some Union playoff soccer talk. They are playing this evening at Subaru Park. We wish them luck, but I don't think we can fit them into our crazy schedule. We do wish them luck, though, as I said. This is really weird, Bill, to have 5 teams, 5 Philly Pro teams playing games that matter in the same week.
Isn't that something? And could you be any more excited? I mean, it's just every night there's something going on, and it's been so much fun, and it's especially the way they're playing. And, we'll certainly get to talking a lot about the Phillies and the crowd and all that here, and the Eagles crowd as well shortly.
Yeah, we got lots to discuss. We have a great guest joining us in just a bit. Boop later on in the show, so we're going to get to it all.
Yeah, we're going to talk tonight with our special guest, one of our great friends, to talk all things Sixers with longtime reporter Dei Lynam joining us. That'll be a lot of fun. But hey, first let's talk Sixers, Chet.
Phillies.
Phillies, that's the one. But before we get to the first 2 games in San Diego, Chet, let's go back to the incredible environment at Citizens Bank Park last weekend against the Braves. That place was rocking, and the Philly faithful are bleeding red October.
Yeah, I wish I didn't have some previous commitments last week, or I would have definitely, made my way to the ballpark, because a lot of my friends were there, and I was a little bit jealous, quite frankly. They really turned out. And even in San Diego, you saw a lot of folks out there for those first 2 games, Phillies fans.
Yeah, and, it was cool because, as you saw, they showed during the game, Joel Embiid is at the Phillies game. Nick Sirianni's at the Phillies game. Jeff Lurie's at the Phillies game. The Flyers play the Phillies last out on the big screen during their game, which was across the street. Everybody's feeling the excitement, and it's just great. It's a great feeling to be having for the city.
Yeah, Rob Thompson, I believe, banged the drum to start the Flyers campaign last week. So it's great to see all the teams, supporting one another, and the players and coaches, managers showing up for other sports in the city. It's really nice to see everybody's in a real good mood this week, even though that Game 2 loss yesterday out in San Diego maybe took a little bit of steam out of all of us.
Yeah, well, let's get to it. Let's talk about that. The Phils get an unbelievable outing from Zach Wheeler to win Game 1. Only got 3 hits in that game. 2 of them happened to be bombs, especially Kyle Schwarber's, to win that game. They come back, jump out 4-0 in the top of the second inning, only to give up 2 in the bottom of the second. Then the wheels kind of fell off of in the 5th. And in spite of that, the Phils didn't hit until late in the game when they only had 1 hit. That was that Bryce Harper double for about 5 innings after that from Nate Snell.
Yeah, I expect to see more hitting from the Phils. I mean, they got kind of a break in the first game because Wheeler was so darn good. They only needed the 2 runs, but then in the second game, Nola struggled a bit. I'm not going to criticize him because he's been great down the stretch when it mattered. The prior 3 games that got him into the postseason, and the first 2 games then in St. Louis and Atlanta that he pitched. Not going to criticize him, but I'd love to see more from this offense. You still got to get some of these other guys going. Castellanos had that 1 good game, but that was it. they are a hitting team, and I'm gonna count on them this weekend. Get 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 runs in one of the games.
Yeah, well, the problem is, though, Chet, the team hasn't hit for probably the last half of the season. Harper, we expected if he could get hot, he could carry them, and
he has.
He can, and he is. Schwarber looks like he's hitting a little bit. Alec Bohm struggling at the plate. JT struggling at the plate. All the way down the lineup. This just, I think we're a little disappointed all around. I am, that this team has not hit all year like I think we thought they would.
Yeah, and quite frankly, the pitching's been pretty good. We're not going to fault the pitching too much. Maybe some of the bullpen decisions I would question. I didn't like seeing Brad Hand come in the Thursday or Wednesday game. I've had no confidence in Brad Hand for the last few months, so get him out of here.
Well, I mean, he pitched. Where are you going to go, though? At that time of the game, you're a little limited. You can't go with Alvarado that early. You got to have somebody that can get outs, and you hit a guy, with 2 strikes, no less. So you're a little limited out there on who you can go with, and now they do have David Robertson back. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. We think it's good, but Brogdon has pitched much better after his 2-run outing in Atlanta, where he said he was nervous. Well, he's a rookie. He's a young kid, and then he's going to be nervous. That happens. But he seems to have bounced back. Alvarado's been great. Sir Anthony's looked good, but they got to have more than that if they're going to yank pitchers at 80 pitches with a 1-hit shutout.
Yeah, and we're still questioning that move, Bill.
I was about to jump off a bridge on that one, pal.
Yeah, 83 pitches, pitching a shutout. Yeah, his velocity went down a smidge, but it wasn't like they were, hitting him really. So I personally would have kept him in. It worked out for Rob Thompson and the Phils. They did get the win. They got the shutout. Sir Anthony was better than good, Bill. He was amazing. He looks terrific.
Yeah, he was.
8 or 9 pitches to get those 3 outs. So he's looking good. And the problem is, these next couple of games, they don't have Wheeler or Nola starting. It's going to be, I guess, Ranger Suarez in game 3. And then we're assuming Syndergaard and a parade of relievers after that on Saturday for game 4. So the bullpen's going to get a lot of work over the next couple of days.
Yeah, and I saw just this afternoon, I was reading, it does look like Syndergaard will be that 4th guy. But it also had Bailey Falter and Kyle Gibson as possibilities. I'm certainly not on the Kyle Gibson train. Bailey Falter, we hadn't even seen in the playoffs yet. So
yeah,
sooner or later we've got to see him, I think. But the big thing for now, you got to win the next one. That's the most important. Ranger Suarez, hopefully will get over those 5-walk jitters that he had, and hopefully come out and pitch well tomorrow. And hey, they were home for 3. You got to win 2.
Yeah, it's a cliche, one game at a time, but that's what it is. When you're in this kind of situation, you don't look too far ahead. You worry about the next game, hope for the best, and I think Rangers up to the task. So I think the Phils are going to win game 3, but you just don't know. This is the first NLCS game in Philadelphia in 12 years, Bill, since 2010. So the fans were so great last weekend. They're going to be primed for it. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. We got 3 sellouts. I'm hearing tickets are going for as much as $1,000 or more for people buying them on the secondary market. Wow. I'm not in that category. I don't have that kind of money, Bill, but it's going to be wild.
Well, you could take some of that Philly Pressbox Radio money and buy a cup of coffee at the game.
Yeah, that's about it.
But no, it's crazy to spend that kind of money. But the fans were great, and the players felt the momentum, the energy, and it's going to be just as good come tomorrow, right on through. I think they're going to live and die. The fans are going to live and die with this bunch. And one final thing I want to say, did you see the article came out late today where some people from Jersey or somewhere went out to San Diego for the game and ended up eating breakfast, and Harper and Real Muto and Stott were in there having breakfast with them. They're all mugging up and getting pictures and all that. They just stumbled into a restaurant. There were the three of them cats sitting there having breakfast. That was cool.
Wow. How cool would that be? No, I did not see that. That is awesome. I was thinking back to the beginning of the season and the job that Dave Dombrowski did at the trade deadline. At the beginning of the year, we had guys like Jeris Familia and Odubel Herrera out in center field. Didi was at shortstop, and, he's clearly on the downside. So give Dombrowski a lot of credit for bringing in the guys like Marsh and even Syndergaard, Sosa, who's been very good, some timely hits and great defense. David Robertson, so-so, but I'd rather have him than Familia, that's for sure. And back in late March, we didn't even know if Alec Boehm or Bryson Stott were going to make the team. Remember that? So, boy, this team has come a long way since April 1st.
Yeah, you have to give Dombrowski credit. I would have to say that all of his moves were positive, even the David Robertson, if you might want to throw a little question mark around that.
Yeah.
They have been positive moves, and they've helped put this team where it is. But boy, we just need to start hitting a little bit, and I think the pitching will hold up if we can do that.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a great weekend in Philly, and no Eagles to steal the spotlight at all this weekend. So it's going to be pretty much all Phillies this weekend. Yeah, the Sixers and Flyers, might get some attention as well, but it's going to be crazy down at Citizens Bank Ballpark.
Well, let's speaking of hitting and speaking of the Eagles and speaking of the crowd, the Birds remained undefeated with that nice win against the Cowboys. I said this last week, Chet. I'll say it again this week. I'm thrilled they're undefeated. I'm a little underwhelmed at this point. I don't know how you can be underwhelmed at 6-0. I just feel like this team has so much more to offer than what we're seeing at this point and still getting W's.
Man, talk about a nitpicker, Bill.
Yeah, maybe.
They are 6-0. Yeah, they have not been great in every quarter, but they're the best second quarter team I've ever seen in my life. What are they averaging, like 20 points per second quarter through the first 6 games? The other 3 quarters, not so great. The one thing that concerns me, special teams, they're just not getting great coverage most of the time. They're not getting any great, punt returns. The few kickoff returns they've had have not been wonderful. So that's the one area that I think really could use improvement. And, boy, I'd love to see the offensive line stay healthy. We saw when Lane Johnson's not in there, the difference that can make. So keep Lane Johnson out on the field. And looking at the upcoming schedule, Bill, check this out. They got the bye this week. And then you got the Steelers at home. I'll be there for that one. And then you're at Houston. Yeah, I know. Those tough Washington Commanders with no Carson Wentz. He's hurt yet again. And then maybe the toughest of the games so far this year could be those following 2 at the Colts and then home against the Packers, although the Packers have been up and down. But, boy, these next 3 games, they should be 9-0 for sure going into that Colts and Packers back-to-back.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, I guess where I'm a little underwhelmed, Chet, is I kind of feel like, they kept showing you what they were doing to Micah Parsons in the run read option and all that and working it to perfection. But, it's a lot to me what the Ravens do with Lamar Jackson. And when they are able to shut down Lamar Jackson, now I think the Eagles have better receivers than the Ravens had. But when they are, the Ravens lose. And they lose in the playoffs because good defenses show up in the playoffs. And I just feel like there's more ability to push the ball down the field, and the Eagles don't do that. They play a very safe game plan game. It's successful, it's working. Will it continue to work is kind of what worries me. Again, maybe I'm being a little too picky, but then when it becomes crunch, and then the other thing is they're letting their foot off the gas. They're up 20-0. You got to step on the throat, and they're not doing that until then they get in the fourth quarter and they hunker down and drive the ball using the offensive line and score an insurance touchdown to make it look like an easy win when they let their foot off the gas back in the third quarter.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Too many times they've taken the feet off the gas. They've led every game by at least 14 points at one point, which is pretty amazing. Remember back in the summer when a lot of people were clamoring for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson? Those people have been awfully quiet lately. I don't know if you've seen, but Russell Wilson has been on primetime games already like 3 or 4 times this year, and he looks like he's washed up already.
Yeah, he does. He does that whole thing out there in Denver. They can't score any points. They got issues out there. And as I said, when you put the schedule up there, the Packers have issues too. I thought that was going to be a big game, and I guess it somewhat is when Aaron Rodgers is in the game. But they stink. You know, they're no good. Steelers are no good. Yeah. Right down that list, the Texans are no good. The Colts at home, because it's at the Colts, might make that one a little bit better. But like I said, they might stumble somewhere along the line, but they got a chance to win a lot of games here in the next 5 weeks.
Me taking the over 9.5 is looking pretty good at this point, Bill. I think
that was looking great from the start.
I may buy you a beer after I cash that one.
All right. Sounds good. I'll do it. Hey, Chet,
how good has James Bradbury been, by the way? What a steal he was. James Bradbury, it's a shame they only have him signed for 1 year, so extend that guy right now because he's made a huge difference in the secondary.
Yeah, we didn't even get to the defense, and the run defense struggled just a little bit the other night, I think, especially once they got things going, once Dallas got things going. But the pass coverage has been pretty darn good.
Yeah, it has. It's going to be an exciting next few weeks. Going away from the Phillies and getting back focused on the Eagles. I want to see them win these next 3 games and then see how they do against, some slightly better competition in the Colts and the Packers, and we'll go from there. But
I want to focus on them both for about 3 weeks so we can talk about the World Series as well. How about that? Hey, Chet, let's move on because I know you're spending more time on your couch than you are in your car watching all these ball games. It's time to start saving with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, Bill, Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent in Westchester, Pennsylvania. That is Dave Lavoie. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. Again, 610-430-0700. And start to save more now that you are driving less.
Well, hey, Chet, tell us, it's October. It's almost November, almost Halloween time. What's going on at the Irish Rover Station House?
Always something going on at the Rover, Bill. You know that. Good times, good food and drink at the Rover in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. They have live music most Saturdays, and that'll be the case this weekend. Looks like Ryan Shawn will be there this Saturday, the 22nd. And, of course, their annual Halloween Bash is coming up later in the month, October 29th. They have 24 beers on tap. That's always. And dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, drink specials during all Eagles games. The Irish Rover is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. The website, of course, irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hi, football fans. This is Merrill Reese, and you're listening to Bill and Chet on Philly Pressbox Radio. It's good!
Yes, it is, Merrill. Everything's good right now in Red October. You got to like it. Well, hey, Chet, Sixers opened the season losing in Boston in spite of huge games from James Harden and Joel Embiid. Just not enough defense in that game from either team.
Yeah, it's only one game, though. Don't worry about it. You know what? I'm going to play right now an interview that I had with Dei Lynam. And Dee is on her way right now to the Wells Fargo Center for tonight's home opener. And she's going to give us the lowdown on what happened Tuesday night and what we should expect the next 81 games. So if I could find it, let's see. We're going to find Dei Lynam right here. Another highly anticipated 76er season is underway, and our guest has been covering this franchise for some 25 years now. Let's bring her on. It is, of course, Dei Lynam. Hey, Dee, is that accurate? Wasn't it 25 years ago this month that Comcast Sportsnet debuted and you officially began covering the Sixers?
That is true. I think it was October 1st, 1997. So yeah, that is accurate. Yep.
Well, happy silver anniversary as a Sixers reporter then. All right. One game in the books, an opening night 9-point loss to those hated Boston Celtics. Did we learn anything about this Sixers team and all the new faces from that one game yet?
Well, I mean, I think, I had somebody say to me, we're 3 hours into the NBA regular season that lasts 82 regular season games, so let's not overreact. I mean, I think the one thing people will be very positive about is James Harden looked incredibly healthy and looked like the Harden that we thought you got from the Rockets. So I think that was a positive. Joel's numbers ended up being fine, 26 and 15, I believe, but he didn't shoot the ball well. He had 6 turnovers. I didn't think he looked particularly sharp defensively for them to give up the points that they gave when they, set out saying they were going to be they think they will be a top 5, top 7 defensive team. And, maybe part of that is the newcomers. I think Doc is still going to be kind of playing with his rotations. I know that he feels strongly out of the gate of having 2 of his top 4. And we know who they are in Embiid, Harden, Harris, and Maxey, 2 of them on the court at all times, and then figuring out who those other 3 are. There was one stretch at the end of the first quarter that he did not do that, but that was just to get through the final 35 seconds so that nobody picked up a silly foul. So, they have 2 tough opponents to start the season, right? They'll come right back at home against the Bucks. And we'll see if we see some things that are a little different than what we saw last night.
As you mentioned, there are lots of new additions on the roster this year, including P.J. Tucker, plus reserves DeAnthony Melton, Montrezl Harrell, and Daniel House. None was a major contributor in the opening night loss, just 6 points for Tucker, not a whole lot from the bench guys. Is it going to take a few games or a few weeks for these guys to get fully acclimated?
Yeah, I think part of it is because you don't know Doc's rotations. I mean, you can do that in practice and try to figure out who's with whom on the court. So I think part of that is true. I feel strongly that this team has good depth. I think the depth is actually greater than a year ago. I do think, and I hope, that I know guys like to know their role, but if we say depth is there, it's not just for injury, right? And if something isn't working on a given night for a given matchup, then I'm not talking about just yanking a guy. That's not what I'm saying. But I think if you have that depth, you could try something. So like a Matisse Thybulle, we know he has not shown to be an offensive contributor. We do know he can play defense, and he's made, second team all defense 2 years in a row. He played less than a minute, and there were perimeter guys that were lighting up the Sixers. And I don't know exactly where he stands. Is it because of his offense? Is it something else? But a guy like him, a guy like Paul Reed, I think there were opportunities that either one of them in a spurt could have helped them.
Tyrese Maxey has gotten just better and better since his arrival with the Sixers. He more than doubled his scoring in his second season compared to his rookie year. Should we expect Maxey to take another leap this year in his 3rd year in the league?
Well, I think you can expect that there are 3 first options. I should say Embiid would be your first option. If that is, being taken away, Harden is probably your second. If not Maxey, I'll go 1A, 1B there, depending, because Harden can be such a great distributor, and I don't want to take that away from his game. But I think that you see that they have moved Tobias Harris to be the 4th option, and that is because Maxey has shown to be such a dynamic player, a dynamic scorer. He has some unique talents. And so I would say, yes, I think you will see that his game has grown yet again. He's a tireless worker. So, I know his final preseason game, he was 2 for 10, and somebody said, should we be concerned? And Doc Rivers was like, no, you don't have to be concerned. This guy sees the ball go through the hoop so often, because that's how often he's working. So, yeah, I think he continues to progress. I do.
Keeping Joel Embiid healthy, of course, is a must for the Sixers to have a successful season and a deep playoff run. Do you worry about him, hitting the floor so often? He's in his prime right now, and does he still have more upside, and can we keep him healthy?
Well, first of all, yeah, I don't like how often he hits the floor. It's funny, in one of my classes today, somebody said, did anybody see how often Anthony Davis hit the floor last night as well? I said, no, I was asleep by then. But yeah, I think his falling to the ground is definitely concerning. Not so much, I mean, part of it is the injury, but the other is like, why is this still happening? Right?
Yeah.
Like, have a wider base. Have a stronger sense of your balance. So yeah, I don't like it at all. Can we keep him healthy? We could do all we want in the regular season, and quite frankly, last year, with the exception of those, I think he was out. It was at least 9 games that were COVID related. Might have even been higher, Chet. And so his actual injury in the regular season was minimal. And then, the weird postseason injuries happen. So we can do all we want for 82 games. And I say this to people all the time, whether it's his health or however good they are in the regular season, the trepidation fans will have going into the postseason with this group, no matter what they accomplish in the regular season or how healthy he stays, they won't have a real secure sense, because it just doesn't happen. Hasn't happened yet. So until you show us differently, how can we feel any different?
I hear you. All right. So last year, the Heat were the top seed in the East. The Celtics, of course, made it to the NBA Finals. The Bucks and Giannis still pretty good. And there's that team up in Brooklyn that may or may not be very good this year. We shall see. As I post the NBA championship odds that I just saw the other day, these are from Caesars. How do you see the Eastern Conference playing out this year? I mean, there could be 4 or 5 teams really competing for the top seed.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the day I look, they do it by plus 1,400, plus 6. Boston was plus 600 as of yesterday to win the title. The Sixers were plus 1,400 when I was doing some of my writing. There's a lot of teams that are clustered in there. The one other, I mean, Cleveland certainly thinks that they got better, and Atlanta certainly thinks that they should have a redemption year. Because last year was a little disappointing for them, and they added DeJounte Murray, and Cleveland feels like they were really good before they got injuries, and they added Donovan Mitchell. So we talk about those top 4, and I think those top 4 are good teams, the Sixers included. But I think the Eastern Conference is actually there. You just can't say, I'm going in and write that off as a W. And that's not even including like a Detroit. Used to put that as a W all the time. They got better. So the Eastern Conference is much, much, much more competitive than maybe some of the recent years past.
You want to make a prediction? How many wins for the Sixers and what seed?
I hear a lot of like mid-50s. I think because of the competition, I'm going to go around 50, to be honest with you. I do think they can win 50 games, though. And if you win 50, I think somebody else is going to have more than that, or you're pounding each other. So, I mean, I think they can be a top 3 seed, and it'll come down to tiebreakers, in my opinion. That's, and this is all said, barring no injury to any of these high-level teams, including yourselves. Yeah.
Yep.
So I would say, and I wouldn't have a problem. Look, they've been the number 1 seed, and that didn't work out very well for them. They've been a 4, they've been a 3. So I would say if you're anywhere in the top 4, I'm okay with that, because you got to win games and you got to advance.
Hey, Dee, now that you're on 97.5 every weekend, you talk about all Philly sports, of course. We have the Phillies in the NLCS as we speak. The Eagles are unbeaten. It's a lot of fun being a Philadelphia sports fan and talk show host right now, isn't it?
It certainly is. You don't hurt for calls, that's for sure, no matter what shift you're working. There's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. And quite frankly, the product. Like watching these Phillies games, the product is so good. There's an endearing quality to the group that Thompson has put together there, and how what they have done to this point in the postseason. Obviously, we know you need the pitching. Wheeler and Nola have done that. Their bullpen. How about the years that we talked about how horrific the bullpen was, and now you have nothing like that to say. their bats have come together at a time. Look, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Wendell Schwarber. I think he was 1 for 20 when this series started, and then he hits bombs away in game one. So they're amazing. I think the Jalen Hurts' progress from last year to this, I have no questions when you go into a game about his decision making. They're a really solid team, end to end at both sides of the ball. Maybe their special teams you could question, but yeah, it's great to watch. The Flyers, good God.
No figure.
Tortorella's like saying, look at me, people. Like, give me some credit here. Everybody said we were going to be horrible. So I would absolutely agree with you. And, the Sixers, they're going to be fine. That's not, the season opener. Boston had a lot to prove also. They've gone through a lot of tumultuous times leading into this regular season, coming off an appearance in the finals. Yeah, Ime being suspended, losing Gallinari, Robert Williams III, first team all defense, sidelined for maybe 2-3 months. So I think they had a chip on their shoulder to show people, like, don't write us off just because we've gone through some tough times. So I think the Sixers will be fine.
Dei Lynam, this is always fun. I will see you at FanFest at Xfinity Live on the 29th of October. Looking forward to that. And we'll talk to you again in a few months. Go Sixers.
Thank you for always inviting me. I appreciate it.
As always, Chet, great stuff coming from Dei. I was going to ask you, and as you mentioned, we had to pre-record that because the Sixers had a game tonight since we changed from Wednesday to Thursday, so I wasn't able to be part of that. But what did you think about she mentioned Thibault and some of the guys not playing much. All the starters played in the mid-30 minutes on opening night. Did that surprise you a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit, but I guess, like I asked her, does it take time to get these guys acclimated? And I think it does. It's going to take a little while. So, give them a few weeks to settle on a rotation. Maybe we'll see more of Thibault because he is a great defender. He had his struggles offensively last year, certainly, but they could use some defense. I mean, look what happened to the game the other night with the Celtics. They put up 126 points on the Sixers. So they could use some good defense. And I do expect more from P.J. Tucker than we saw in the opening game. He's not a great scorer, but he is a good defender and a good rebounder, and he didn't do a whole lot in game one. So it's going to take a few weeks, I think, for Doc to get the rotation set and figure out who's going to get how many minutes.
All right, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna toss this one out here because you're kind of an avid Sixers fan. How long are you giving Doc Rivers before you start screaming it's time to pull the plug on that mess?
Well, we got to see what happens. If they're
I'm telling you what's going to happen. It's a mess.
If they're 10-12, a quarter of the way into the season, I might start thinking about it then. But I think this team is focused more on the postseason than it is the regular season, which is why I don't think they're going to, try to win 60 games. I don't think Embiid or even some of the other guys are going to play every single game, whether they're healthy or not. I think they have their eyes on getting past the second round of the postseason because a lot of fans are frustrated, every April, May, June when the Sixers are done and there's still, 16 other teams playing. So that's going to be the key for me is getting guys into the proper frame of mind and keeping everybody healthy into May so they can win more than one playoff round. My prediction, Bill, the over-under, by the way, 51.5 for the Sixers. I'm going to go with exactly what they had last year, which is 51 wins. How about you?
Well, I hate to say this, Chet, but 51.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that. 51.
I had 51 also.
And D said about 50.
Yeah, D said 50. I'm at 51. This is going to be a wait and see for me. I'm just not sure, as D said, how much better they've gotten. I think James Harden is going to be a lot better than what we saw at the end. Not just based on one game. I just think he's a little man. It's a man that's a little bit possessed at this point to do well. Maxi's going to be great, but again, I don't know that they have the depth or the coaching to be able to get over the top.
Speaking of one game, how about that one game, that debut game for that Ben Simmons? 23 minutes, 4 points, 0 for 2 from the foul line, and he fouled out.
Yeah.
What a debut, huh?
Quite an effort, pal.
Oh,
You take that 25 and go somewhere else. Enjoy him up there, New York. You deserve him.
And his defenders will say, well, he hasn't played in a long time. Zion Williamson, who was on the opposing team, didn't play at all last year either. He scored 25 points, a lot of those over Ben Simmons. He didn't look rusty.
No.
Boy, I'm glad we
hopefully we don't have to continue to have updates of him. I'd rather listen to you talk about the Emmy Awards than listen to that cat.
I'll take that.
All right. Hey,
one other thing. This picture was in the interview with Dee, and it was 25 years ago that Comcast Sportsnet debuted. Look at all those young folks, including Dee up in the top left-hand corner. Michael Barkan, the last man standing. He's now, the guy in the bottom right. Michael Barkan, the only guy still there 25 years later. How about that?
That was a great team they put together back then, and they were certainly good for Philadelphia sports for an era. Basically, it was an era that we watched a lot of those sports, and they were all good at what they did.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of good at what they do, Chet, let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge Philly Sports Network this week. Wall-to-wall coverage as usual. More and more coverage coming every week. Network is continuing to grow. You can catch all the action at www.eopsports.com as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show, Chet, on Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. People need to go and like and follow and share all those items with their families and friends. We need to grow that YouTube, pal.
Yes, we do. I promised us 200 followers, subscribers by the end of the year. We're up to about 170. So we got a little more than about 2.25 months to get up to 200. I'm going to put out a major push for that in the next few days. And we're on at 6 tonight because there are other shows on the network at 7, 8, and 9 tonight. I forgot to load the graphic into our system. I didn't get to put it up. But
and I just talked my way through it.
Did.
Like I knew what I was doing.
Kyle Quinn, Birds IQ, 7 o'clock right after us. So get yourself some dinner and sit down and watch Kyle and company talk about the Eagles at 7 Eastern Time Thursday.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, let's get to it. Welcome our man for Boop Stats, Bob Vitrone Jr. And I thought he was going to be live from Splits, but I think he's live from the Boop House.
Yeah, I spent all day cleaning out the garage, and since I haven't been home in like 4 weeks, I figured I'd spend one night with my wife, as punishment for her. So,
There you go.
The over-under for you, Boop, is 5.5. The over-under, how many days of the week you're at Splits? 5.5. So you're usually right around there, aren't you?
If I spend the afternoon and I come home and let the dogs out and go back, is that 1 or 2 visits? It's like visiting the mound. There's a limit.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, trivia question.
Yeah.
The first show that popped up on October 1st, 1997 on Comcast Sportsnet?
I'm going to guess Daily News Live.
Philadelphia Daily News Live at 5 o'clock.
Were you there?
I wasn't on it. No, I was watching in the office along with, millions of other people.
I loved that show. It was like 4 to 5 or 4 to 6. It was
5 to 6:30, and then eventually get down to an hour. It was almost entirely Daily News people when it started. Yep. It was almost entirely not Daily News people at the end, but that's an editorial comment I don't feel I need to make at this point. We can talk about that at Split some day or night.
Yes.
That's an off-the-record discussion.
Yes, it is. Off the record after Chet buys me beers with all his Sixers 51-win bettings.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the Eagles over 9.5.
Yeah, that's where the money's coming in.
Dunk now.
And I had the Phillies over 86.5. They won 87. I am just loaded now, man.
For the record, Sixers are going to blow by 51.5.
You think?
Yeah. They're doing too good. And even whatever you like about Doc Rivers, he's had an off season to gel Harden into the offense, which he didn't have last year. And he's got 3 really good weapons, all of which I think like each other and like sharing the ball. So I think they're going to be just fine. They lost to what might be the best team in the East last week, 2 nights ago. So it's not
Yeah, they're good.
They're supposed to be the best team in the East, though, Boo.
Well, again, until they knock off the best team in the East, they're not. So,
That's right.
The road goes to Boston, as we've heard 30 times in the last 50 years.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, Boop, it's week 7. We're going to get to some
defending champ, by the way.
No. You don't have to say that. That's not
get out of the way. Tear off the Band-Aid.
Oh, Chet, how did we do last week? What's our standings after 6 weeks so far?
Well, guys, one of us went 3-1 last week. Okay, it was me getting only the Ravens-Giants game wrong. Bill, you were 2-2. And Boop, hey, you got one right at least, Boop. You got one right last week. The season standings to date, well, I actually made a little graphic this week, and forgive me, but the font size apparently got messed up a little bit. So there's the standings.
He's a funny guy.
He's like a clown show every week here, Boop.
Boop, you're back under 500, man. Come on. Splits is going to fire you.
Bill, we'll let him have it.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's get to this week so we can close this gap and take over. I'm tired of listening to him.
Let's look at it again one more time.
Because the Eagles are off, we've got an add-in game, and it always seems to come back to Kansas City, Boop. Kansas City at San Francisco. Chiefs are -3. Who do you like?
Yeah, their right side of their line is just not playing well. Buffalo just tore right over it. They really don't have injuries there. And like happened in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, every quarterback needs some protection. And if Mahomes doesn't get it, they're in trouble. They're going to get it this week. They're so – after the last 2 weeks, they're so mad they're going to take down the team that they did beat in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, 3 years ago. No problem. I take the Chiefs, surprisingly.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I took the Bills last week to beat them, and it was a little hairy. Great finish, by the way. But I think Kansas City wins this, and I think they're going to cover that 3-point spread easily.
Yeah, I do too. I was really surprised that they didn't play very well against the Bills. I was expecting more from them. All right, Green Bay visits the Carson Wentzless Washington Commies. Packers -4.5. Both these teams stink. I don't care what anybody says.
You took my lead there, Bill. Yes, first, but not only I don't think either team wants to win, I don't care which team wins. So I almost want to take whatever Chet doesn't take, but I'll go Green Bay just in my NFC East hating blood.
Yeah, I got to go Green Bay. I can't see them playing that poorly again this week against, an awful team, Washington. I don't care that it's on the road. I don't care who's quarterbacking for Washington. I guess it's Heineke, but Green Bay should win this one easily.
Yeah, well, the old Green Bay should win this game easily. I'm going to take Green Bay to win, but they're not good. They're not playing good ball, but they do have Aaron Rodgers, and I'll take him over Heineke. Anytime. All right, Giants visit Jacksonville. It's time to start giving the Giants some love, fellas, I think, man. I'm surprised the Jags are -3 in this game, Boo.
Yeah, I had Baltimore in a very winnable survivor pool. Most of the people in it went down with Tampa Bay, so I'm sitting there thinking I'm like the last 4 or 5 guys, and that last 2 minutes, they just tore me apart. I guess that means I got to get on the Giants bandwagon since they took me out of that, so I'm going to go New York.
This was the toughest game for me out of the 4 that we're choosing this week, and I just still can't climb on the Giants bandwagon. I know they've been very impressive at 5-1, obviously. I know Jacksonville is 2-4, but I'm rooting for Doug Peterson in this one. I want him to help knock off the Giants. I'm taking the Jags to win it.
Well, I actually watched the Jags play the Colts last week, and the Jags they just didn't play well, and Matt Ryan threw for about 5 miles against them. I'm going to go Giants, even though quarterback's not their strength. Saquon Barkley's playing pretty good. He's fun to watch. I'm going to go Giants in this one.
Boop, I got to ask you, why do you think Jacksonville's favored by 3? I know they're at home, but still, why is Jacksonville favored?
I saw that too, and I was questioning about, like I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, Jacksonville is going to be better than everybody thought in the beginning of the year, which is why I went through and bet all their games that the line's then, and they're all ending up getting me about 3 extra points, but I don't see that at all. I guess maybe they're kind of skipping the last Jacksonville game because up until then they've been playing well over their heads.
Yeah.
I don't know, but those guys know what they're doing. So
all right.
Right. Yep. Okay. And the last one, the Lions visit the Cowboys. Cowboys -7. Seems obvious.
Yeah. Cowboys are better than the Lions, period. I would like to have seen the early season Lions offense against the early season Cowboys defense, but both of those things have kind of evened out now. I'll root for the Cowboys this week. Let's go Dallas.
Well, I'm not going to root for them, but
I'm never going to say let's go Dallas. I might pick them to win.
Really,
I got you. Dak Prescott returns, and I don't know if he's going to play great, but he's going to play well enough to win. I think the Cowboys do beat Detroit and probably even cover that spread. So Cowboys win.
Yeah, Cowboys are going to win this one. I will have to say, even though they made a little push to make the Eagles game look like it was a little bit closer than it was, that Dallas offense was atrocious.
You know, Bill, with me and you having the same picks this week, or is it me and Boop? Let's see. Yeah. Oh, no, wait. You guys both picked the Giants, huh?
Yes, we did, because we're both going to pick up a game on you, pal.
Yeah.
Well,
you're going
if
down.
you're wrong, there's speculation that I'm going to clinch the title before week 15.
Yeah, you're the only one speculating that.
Oh, yeah.
He does that chart with a little Y next to clinch. I'm leaving.
Hey, Boop, I came up with a new term. We're going to get the Splits Bar and Grill tidbits for week 7. Go.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll take 2.
What do you got?
Yeah. Well, first of all, as Bill saw earlier, I think today is a sports equinox day. There are games in the NBA, NHL, NFL, and Major League Baseball. It is the 27th time that has happened. It's got a couple more shots of happening over the next couple of weeks, up to 4, depending on rainouts and, if necessary, games. It is the 10th time that those 4 leagues will all be playing along with the MLS, which is playing tonight, as we know, the Union in its playoff game. And it is the 4th time where those 5 things and college football are happening. So I'm calling it a sports equinox plus. I've got a 6-game parlay with 1 team in each of the 4 leagues. That's going to win me $800, and then I can quit this show and not have to listen to Chet tell me he's defending champion anymore.
Good luck with that.
But don't
parlay.
forget me, Boop. I'm with you.
Yeah, you and I will both go. So
that's right. That's right. All right. Any other words of wisdom for the week?
Yeah, no, the other thing I've been doing is I've been betting a lot on home runs in the postseason, mostly around Aaron Judge and Schwarber and the Phillies. And my tip is, if you bet home runs, I search around a lot. The best home run odds are almost always at FanDuel, and this is not sponsored by FanDuel or anything, as it is by Splits Bar and Grill, Maple Shade, New Jersey. But if you're into home runs and into like maybe a little bit bigger payout, you can bet 2 home runs at FanDuel. I've got a bunch of parlays with Judge tonight and the Phillies guys tomorrow, various 1-and-1s, 1-and-2s, because Judge has always got a shot to hit 2. So if you're looking to bet home runs and you want to get your best bite for the buck, check out FanDuel and then do some comparison shopping, and it could be worth some money.
Last thing, Boop, who wins the Phillies-Padres series?
It's going to be. It's not as easy as people think it is. I know everyone says the Padres are going to come in here and not know what hit them, but at the end of the day, you don't win or lose game because of the fans. It can help you as the game goes along. If they get behind, that crowd's going to not quite be the same crowd that you think it's going to be, because again, a lot of these people aren't the same ones that are there for 162 games. But they can easily win 3 in a row, which teams have done 9 times going into a best of 7 at 1-1. With the middle 3 at home, but they can also lose 3 in a row, which has been 10 times by the road team. So, like I said before, they have a puncher's chance. They need to have their people do some punching and keep at it. Having a 4-run lead and losing it in the playoff game with at least your second best pitcher on the mound, not acceptable.
All right, Boop.
Hey, Boop, before we let you go, let everyone know where they can follow you on your social media platforms and your pub.
Yeah, I'm all over Twitter, at BoopStats. Follow me, and you can see all the fun stuff I put out there. It's usually popping up around 7 o'clock in the morning and then all day, including TV listings, which are sometimes hard to find. And my website, boopstats.com, where I try to put stuff that you can download if it's a little bit easier to print out from there. So, follow me on Twitter. You can, direct message me and let me know if you want to see something or any questions. I try to get to them, and we'll all have some fun with numbers.
All right.
Get out of here, Boop.
Sounds good, Boop. We'll see you next week.
From somewhere.
That's right. Thanks, bud.
All right, Bill, I got to do something here.
Uh-oh.
You ready? We're going to take a little break from the sports talk because I'm going to tell you and everybody else about an awesome trip that I took recently, and enjoy all of the picks, Bill, because I know you and your wife and some others will be taking a similar trip, somewhat similar trip next year. So check this out. Buongiorno, buonasera, ciao. No, I really don't speak Italian, but did I fool you? Allora, Anyway, after COVID postponed our planned trip to Italy in 2020 and 2021, my wife and I finally made it there in early October 2022. We started our week-long visit with a couple of days in Venice, which included a tour of a glass-blowing factory, a visit to the areas around the Piazza San Marco, St. Mark's. That's our amazing tour guide, Carla, in front of the King Emmanuel Monument in Venice. And we had a very nice half-hour gondola ride. And how about that sunset? Next stop, Florence, a beautiful city with lots of terrific sights, including the Duomo. Lots of statues and churches everywhere. Although I've got to say the shower in our hotel room was rather odd. Just a little dividing wall thing that does nothing to stop water from going all over the floor. Very strange. By the way, who knew there was a Hotel California in Florence, Italy? I never checked in, so I was able to leave, fortunately. Florence is in Italy's Tuscan region, and so is nearby San Gimignano, home to the Piazza della Cisterna, numerous medieval towers, some great gelato shops, and, oh yeah, wineries. We enjoyed a wonderful wine tasting event at Tenuta Torsiano. Some real good wine there, as you might expect. Actually bought a couple of bottles. And, oh, I ran into Jersey Joe Piscopo at that winery. How about that? After busing back to Florence, we walked up a couple of never-ending hills with our new friends, Kim and Rob, to enjoy a beautiful sunset looking out from the Piazza Michelangelo. That evening's dinner then at Osteria Filetto d'Oro was quite tasty. Pica alla carbonara for me. Our final few days of the trip were spent in Rome and included extensive tours of the Colosseum and the remains of the Forum, a couple of thousand years of history there in ancient Rome. By the way, our local tour guide for that day's activities, Alexia, was fantastic. Kind of cute, too, but don't tell my wife I said that. Later, most of our tour group went on a nighttime walking tour of Rome. Among the sights, the legendary 18th century Trevi Fountain, seen in classic movies like Roman Holiday, La Dolce Vita, and most notably, 3 coins in the fountain. Of course, no trip to Italy would be complete without a visit to Vatican City and sites including the Sistine Chapel and St. Peter's Basilica. Even if you're not religious, and spoiler alert, I'm not, it's all pretty impressive. Oh, that evening's dinner at a place in Rome called Il Tunel was probably my favorite of the trip. Penne al salmone, pasta with salmon, cream, and either wine or vodka. Italy is known for its tasty dishes and wines, but as a beer guy, well, I felt obligated to try as many Italian beers as I possibly could, and I certainly did. These, all pictured here, were decent, but none of them blew me away. My 2 absolute favorites, well, the runner-up, Peroni Cruda, which is either a Pilsner or a pale lager, 4.7% ABV, and number 1, Birra Menabrea Ambrata, brewed in Brella, Italy, a premium amber classic lager, 5% ABV, which has a slight toffee or caramel flavor to it. So there you have it. Lots of history and amazing sights up and down Italy. Well worth visiting if you haven't been there. And if you decide to go as part of a tour group, I can heartily recommend Go Ahead Tours. We used them in 2017 for our trip to the UK and again this year for this Italy trip, and they were fantastic both times. Arrivederci.
Looks like a fun trip, something I'm going to certainly enjoy getting a chance to do this time next year, just about.
Yeah, how about all those historic sites, man? The remains of the Forum and the Colosseum. That is some wild, cool stuff. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just worried about that one thing. You showed one of your meals that was like about this big, like, man.
Yeah, they look fine, but it's kind of, they have these weird bowls where they have like a sunken middle. So there's like more in the middle there than it actually looks like. So,
okay. All right. I'll go with that. All right. Good stuff. Hey, Chet, great guest tonight in Dei Lynam as always. So who do we have coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week?
Well, Bill, next week we will hopefully be talking about a Phillies World Series appearance for the first time in 13 years, we hope. But I know we will be talking a lot of Eagles, too. Yeah, Phillies. The Birds next week, not this Sunday, but the following week, will be hosting those Steelers. Yeah, that's a week from Sunday. And our guest next week is a guy who covers the Eagles for The Athletic, a first-time visitor to our show, Zach Berman. Zach does a great job covering our undefeated Eagles, and we look forward to talking with him next week, Bill.
Yeah, Zach's good.
Yeah, he's real good.
Yeah, he used to be here in town.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, I want to tell our viewers and listeners about Philly sports trips also. They have road trips to all Eagles games. They have a trip to Nashville this weekend, as a matter of fact, for some Flyers hockey and other things down there in Music City. There is a Flyers Predators game and lots of other fun stuff. That is what I just said. Yeah. And looking ahead, they have a trip to spring training next year for those Phillies, a chance to hang out with legendary Phil skipper Charlie Manuel. And I'm hearing from our guys at Edge of Philly that there will be another Sixers-Nets game up in Brooklyn. I believe that'll be happening in February. You can go up to Brooklyn and boo you-know-who in person. So phillysportstrips.com, the place to get all the details.
All right, good stuff. Hey, we're not going to let you off the hook without talking about the Flyers, Chet. They jumped out of the gate. They're 3-1, winning in Tampa, losing in Florida. Always tough making that back-to-back trip that they have. John Tortorella have your November attention yet?
Well, I mean, certainly they're starting off 3-1. That is very impressive. Nobody expected that. And what was really impressive, all 4 games, I believe they've, battled back from behind. They won the first 3 after being down 1-0, 2-0, 2-0, won those 3. And the last night they were down 2-0, came back to tie before losing. Rough third period for them. But 3-1, we will take that. And you got to love what he has done, because there are very low expectations this year. So give Tortorella and the guys credit. They are playing hard, and hopefully they'll get a bunch more wins and maybe even make the playoffs. Who knows, Bill? I'm not going to predict that, though.
Okay, low expectations. I'm holding you to a pick. What are they going to do?
I'm going to say they're not going to make the playoffs, unfortunately. I'm going to say, low 80s in terms of points and missing the playoffs by a handful of points.
I'm going to tell you they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to do it on Carter Hart, who has played outstanding for the first 3 games. He was not in the goal last night.
Yeah.
Back-to-back nights, but he is playing really well. They're going to be disciplined. They're rough. They're banging around. They're going to have to come up with goals, as we know, but I think they're going to grit out a handful of games that we aren't expecting. They're going to compete. When they went in that Tampa game, I watched that game. They gave up 2 power play goals to Stamkos right out of the chute and battled back and got those 2 and got a couple more and ended up winning that game on the road against a really good hockey team and maybe the best goaltender in the world in Vasilevsky. I'll get it right.
Yeah, so I hope you're right. But you also told me Penn State was going to meet Michigan last week, so your credibility is shot, Bill.
Yeah, well, it is, because Penn State went up there and stunk the place out. I can't help that. I
know. One other thing about hockey, our buddy Chris Tarian, who we had on the show last week, he has got all of his books. They are now for sale on Amazon and all the other spots. It's officially released on Monday the 25th. Tuesday the 25th. Yeah, Tuesday the 25th. Chris Tarian, Road to Redemption. I can't wait to get a copy and read this. Find it, read it. Chris is a great guy, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, too. I'm going to get a copy myself.
Yep.
All right, Chet, let's take another quick break. Thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page. People can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room on Facebook. And I will tell you, Chet, just today, there was a Devontae Smith mini helmet floating around on that page for somebody to win shortly.
Nice.
All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Very quickly, Eagles, Jason Kelsey, and some of the other guys, including Jordan Mailata, putting out a Christmas album this December. There's going to be a single ahead of the time. I can't wait. I'm going to get that. It's going to be fun. Kelsey can sing a little bit. Jordan Mailata can sing very well, so I'm looking forward to that. And Amazon and Prime doing a Black Friday football game starting next year, NFL. I know you're not a fan, but their ratings have actually been very good for Thursday Night Football, despite some stinky games. Ratings are up 48% from last year, so they're doing something right, I guess.
And they keep showing the Broncos, and they stink with.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Hopefully, no more Broncos.
Well, Mayor Kelsey and the O-line band. That's what I'm going with right there. That's It's going to be fun. I saw a little clip, and I posted it, actually.
Looks like fun. Wrap it up, Bill.
It looks like it will be fun. Okay. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Dei Lynam and Bob Boop Patrone Jr., our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Bob Sullivan's LikeYourAge.com, PPCC 118 Raz Room, and David Boy of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio tentatively next Wednesday, October 26th, depending on what World Series game we're playing it by then. You can see us live on Facebook, listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on blogtalkradio.com/Philly Pressbox Radio, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans. Let's go, Phillies.